There comes a moment, quiet, often unannounced, when you realize that the noise around you is louder than the voice within you. Not the noise of traffic or crowds, but the constant pressure to prove something, to hurry, to be seen, to justify your place in the world. Many people live their whole lives responding to that pressure, mistaking motion for progress and recognition for meaning. But every lasting transformation begins when someone decides to step out of the rush and ask a deeper question. Who am I becoming when no one is watching? This question doesn't shout. It doesn't demand immediate answers. It waits. And for those willing to sit with it, to listen carefully, it begins to rearrange priorities. Because real strength is rarely dramatic. It is steady. It is quiet. It is formed in the unseen spaces of daily life, where no applause reaches and no shortcuts are available. We are often taught, directly or indirectly, that success comes from external validation, from numbers, titles, applause, or approval. But those things are unstable. They rise and fall with trends, opinions, and circumstances we cannot control. When your sense of worth depends on them, your inner life becomes reactive. You chase what moves, and you are unsettled when it disappears. Inner discipline offers a different path. It begins with learning to govern yourself before seeking to influence anything else. It asks you to decide in advance what you will stand for, how you will respond, and who you will be regardless of how others react. This kind of discipline is not about harsh self-control. It is about clarity, about choosing again and again not to let the opinions of others define your direction. When you are disciplined inwardly, you are less shaken by praise and less crushed by criticism. You begin to move with intention instead of impulse. And over time, this inner steadiness becomes visible, not because you announce it, but because it shows in how you carry yourself through difficulty. Pressure tells us to hurry. Purpose invites us to be faithful. Pressure is urgent, loud, and impatient. It demands results now and explanations immediately. Purpose is quieter. It moves at the pace of meaning, not comparison. When you live by pressure, you are always behind. There is always someone ahead of you, doing more, achieving faster, receiving more recognition. But when you live by purpose, your work is measured differently. You ask whether your actions align with your values, whether your effort is honest, whether your choices are forming you into the kind of person you respect. Choosing purpose over pressure often feels like falling behind. It may look slower from the outside, but it protects you from burnout and emptiness. It allows your work to deepen rather than just expand, and it keeps you grounded when outcomes don't arrive on your timeline. There is a form of strength that does not need to announce itself. It does not rely on volume or dominance. It is rooted in dignity, the understanding that your worth is not something you earn, but something you carry. When you know this, you don't need to prove yourself in every conversation or defend your ego in every disagreement. You can listen without fear. You can admit mistakes without collapsing. You can stand firm without becoming rigid. Quiet strength is often misunderstood. It can look like passivity to those who equate power with aggression. But in reality, it takes far more courage to remain grounded when provoked than to react defensively. Dignity allows you to respond rather than react. And that response, shaped by patience and self-respect, has a lasting impact. Motivation is another area where many people lose their way. We are surrounded by hype. Messages designed to excite us temporarily, to promise fast results, to convince us that feeling energized is the same as being committed. But emotion fades, excitement wears off. What remains is conviction. Motivation grounded in values does not depend on how you feel today. It survives boredom. It endures delay. It remains steady when progress is invisible. This kind of motivation is quieter but stronger. It doesn't need constant reinforcement. It grows through repetition. Each small, consistent action becomes a vote for the person you are becoming. And over time, those votes accumulate into character. Personal transformation rarely happens in dramatic moments. It happens through daily, unseen discipline, through the decision to show up when it would be easier not to, through restraint when shortcuts are available, through repetition when novelty has worn off. These moments rarely feel significant at the time, but they are shaping you nonetheless. Think of how habits are formed. not through grand resolutions, but through small choices repeated until they become natural. The same is true of character. Each day you choose honesty over convenience, patience over impulse, faithfulness over recognition. You are being formed, and that formation is preparing you for responsibilities you may not yet see. Leadership is often misunderstood as influence over others, but true leadership begins with self-governance. Before you can guide anyone else, you must learn to manage your own inner life, your emotions, your reactions, your values. When you lead yourself well, you become trustworthy, not because you are perfect, but because you are consistent. Self-governance means taking responsibility for your responses, even when circumstances are unfair. It means refusing to outsource your integrity to external conditions. Over time, people notice this. They are drawn not to your authority, but to your steadiness. Influence grows naturally from there, not because you seek it, but because others feel safe in your presence. Perseverance is often framed as pushing through obstacles, but a deeper understanding sees challenges not as interruptions, but as refinements. Difficulty has a way of exposing what comfort hides. It reveals whether your commitment is rooted in convenience or conviction. When you view opposition as refinement, you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and begin asking, "What is this shaping in me?" This shift changes everything. Instead of resisting difficulty, you engage with it. You learn from it. You allow it to deepen your patience, sharpen your focus, and strengthen your resolve. Perseverance becomes less about endurance and more about growth. Faithfulness over outcomes is one of the hardest lessons to learn. We are conditioned to measure success by visible results, but many meaningful efforts do not produce immediate feedback. Seeds are planted long before they break the surface. When you commit to faithfulness, you free yourself from the constant anxiety of results. You focus on what you can control: your effort, your integrity, your presence. This does not mean you stop caring about outcomes. It means you stop letting them define your worth. You trust that honest work, done consistently, has value even when it goes unnoticed. And you allow time to do what it does best: reveal the fruit of patience. Becoming matters more than achieving. Achievements are temporary. They can be taken away, forgotten, or replaced, but who you become stays with you. Your character influences every relationship, every decision, every season of life. When you prioritize becoming, achievements become expressions of who you are, not substitutes for it. This perspective brings freedom. You are no longer driven by fear of falling behind or missing out. You are guided by alignment. You choose paths that shape you in ways you respect, even if they are less celebrated. Hope without illusion is perhaps the most honest form of hope. It does not deny difficulty or promise easy resolutions. It acknowledges uncertainty and still moves forward. This kind of hope is steady, not flashy. It does not depend on guarantees. It rests on the belief that meaning can be found even when outcomes are unclear. When you carry this hope, you are less shaken by delay. You understand that growth takes time, and that clarity often follows action rather than preceding it. You continue moving, not blindly, but faithfully, trusting that the path will reveal itself step by step. As you reflect on your own journey, you may notice areas where pressure has replaced purpose, where validation has overshadowed discipline, where outcomes have become more important than integrity. These realizations are not failures, they are invitations. Invitations to realign, to slow down, to choose the long game of becoming. You do not need to overhaul your life overnight. Transformation rarely works that way. Start with one small, honest commitment, one habit that reflects your values, one decision to respond differently. Over time, these choices compound, and one day you may look back and realize that the quiet work you did when no one was watching shaped a life of depth, resilience, and meaning. The path forward does not require perfection. It requires presence. It asks you to stay attentive to your inner life, to take responsibility for your responses, and to move forward with integrity, even when the way is unclear. This is the work of becoming, and it is a journey worth taking, one steady step at a time.